In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. All praise is due to Allah, to whom belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth, and to him belongs all praise in the hereafter, and he is the wise, the acquainted.
See Surah Al-Azab, Ayah 73, for the Tafsir.
He knows what penetrates into the earth and what emerges from it, and what descends from the heaven and what ascends therein, and he is the merciful, the forgiving.
See Surah Al-Azab, Ayah 73, for the Tafsir.
But those who disbelieve say, the hour will not come to us. Say, yes, by my Lord, it will surely come to you. Allah is the knower of the unseen. Not absent from him is an atom's weight within the heavens or within the earth, or what is smaller than that or greater, except that it is in a clear register.
Commentary. The knower of the unseen, this is an attribute of the Rabb, Lord, in whose name an oath has been taken in verse Surah Saba, Ayat 3 at this place. Out of the many attributes of Allah Ta'ala, the attribute of all-encompassing knowledge and the knowledge of the unseen has perhaps been mentioned particularly because the text is dealing with the matter of the deniers of the day of resurrection. The major reason why the disbelievers rejected the inevitability of Qiyamah, the day of doom, was their inability to comprehend how the whole thing would work out. When all human beings die and become dust, and the particles of this dust get scattered all over the world, they wondered, how would it be possible to collect all these particles, separate the particles belonging to each human being from the particles of all others, and then go on to put the relevant particles back into the frame of everyone's existence. And they took it as impossible because they had very conveniently taken the knowledge and power of Allah Ta'ala on the analogy of their own knowledge and power. Allah Ta'ala has told them that his knowledge encompasses the entire universe in a manner that he knows everything in the heavens and the earth to the extent that he also knows where and in what state it is. Not a single particle of what has been created remains outside his knowledge, and this comprehensive and all-encompassing knowledge is hallmark of Allah Ta'ala. No created entity, whether an angel or prophet, can ever have such an all-encompassing knowledge that no particle of this universe remains outside it. Then, for a being that has such an all-encompassing knowledge, why would it be difficult to reclaim the scattered particles of a human being from all over the universe, each separate from the other, and reconstitute their bodies from these once again?
That he may reward those who believe and do righteous deeds. Those will have forgiveness and noble provision.
So that he rewards those who believe. Surah Saba, Ayah 4. This sentence is connected with the earlier one, that is, Al-Qiyamah, or the doomsday is bound to come, and its purpose will be to reward believers and to provide for them the best sustenance from Jannah, paradise.
But those who strive against our verses, seeking to cause failure, for them will be a painful punishment of foul nature.
And in contrast to them stand, i.e. those who made efforts to find faults with our verses and tried to stop people from believing in them. The word, which appears immediately after the verse cited above, means that this effort by them was as if they would render us helpless in seizing them, and would thus go scot-free from having to be present on the last day of Qiyamah. The sentence that follows immediately after means that these people shall receive punishment, a severe punishment that will be painful.
And those who have been given knowledge see that what is revealed to you from your Lord is the truth, and it guides to the path of the exalted in might, the praiseworthy.
Verse Surah Saba, Ayah 6. Surah Saba, Ayah 6 talks about believers in contrast with those who denied the coming of the Qiyamah. The former had put their faith in it and became the beneficiaries of the knowledge given by Allah Ta'ala to the Holy Prophet by revelation.
But those who disbelieve say, shall we direct you to a man who will inform you that when you have disintegrated in complete disintegration, you will then be recreated in a new creation?
Reported in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 7, shall we point out to you a man? There is a statement of disbelievers who denied the coming of Qiyamah. In an exercise of mockery, they used to say, come, let us identify an unusual person for your benefit, a person who loves to tell you how, when you die and become dust, totally powdered into countless particles, even after all that, you will be brought into a new creation, and that you, all reshaped into the form you once were, will be made to stand up alive. It is obvious that the person alluded to here is no other, that the Holy Prophet, who used to tell people that Qiyamah will come when the dead will become alive once again, and exhorted people to put their faith in it. All these people who were deriding him knew him perfectly well, but in the present context, they had mentioned him in a manner as if they knew nothing else about him, nothing else but that he tells people about the dead rising alive on the day of Qiyamah. They had purposely elected to refer to him in that manner, just to mock and deride him. The word, when you are totally torn into pieces, is a derivation from mazq, which means splitting apart and rendering to pieces, and kalamimazak, totally torn, means the disintegration of the human body in a manner that all its particles get dispersed separately. Onwards from here, they take up another mode to comment on his statement relating to the Qiyamah.
Has he invented about Allah a lie, or is there in him madness? Rather, they who do not believe in the hereafter will be in the punishment and are in extreme error.
They say, has he forged a lie against Allah, or is there madness in him? Surah Saba, Ayah 8, the drive of their remark is that the idea that all totally disintegrated particles of the body will stand reassembled together, turn into the human body once again and be alive as well, is so unreasonable to start with that there remains practically no question of entertaining or accepting it. Therefore, this claim of the Holy Prophet is either a deliberate attempt to fabricate a lie against Allah Ta'ala, or the person who says so is insane and no premise of his statement is correct.
Then, do they not look at what is before them and what is behind them of the heaven and earth? If we should will, we could cause the earth to swallow them, or could let fall upon them fragments from the sky. Indeed, in that is a sign for every servant turning back to Allah.
The last verse, Surah Saba, Ayah 9, have they not then looked to the sky and the earth that lies before them and behind them? Carries two chastening messages. It proves that one can come to believe in the coming of the Qiyamah by pondering over what has been created in the heavens and the earth, and once the perfect power of Allah Ta'ala becomes visible through observation, the element of improbability which prohibited its deniers from accepting it could stand removed. Then, right along with this positive invitation to see and learn on their own, the deniers have also been served with a warning of punishment. They have been told that should they continue to hold firmly to their attitude of rejection and denial, then they should also realize that it is within this power of Allah Ta'ala which could make the very same blessings to become a punishment for them, such as the earth swallows them, or that the sky cracks apart and falls on them.
And we certainly gave David from us bounty. We said, O mountains, repeat our praises with him, and the birds as well. And we made pliable for him iron.
Commentary. The preceding verses have addressed the arguments of those who denied the possibility of the life after death, and believed it to be irrational that a person may be revived after he has died and the parts of his body are decomposed and turned into dust. Now the stories of Sayyidina Dawud and Sulaiman have been narrated in the present verses to show that Allah Ta'ala has already demonstrated his power by the miraculous acts that were deemed by people to be impossible, like making iron as soft as wax, subjugating the wind, and making copper as liquid as water. The word fatal in the opening sentence of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 10, and surely we bestowed grace from us on Dawud, means excess, favor, or grace. The reference is to particular attributes bestowed on him in excess of others. Allah Ta'ala has blessed every prophet with some unique attributes that are considered to be their distinctive excellence. Sayyidina Dawud was given a few of his own. Besides being a prophet and messenger of Allah, he was also blessed with power over the world of his time. Then there was his gifted voice. When he was busy with the dhikr of Allah or the recitation of Torah, the birds flying above would converge over him to listen. He was blessed with similar other miracles which find mention a little later. The word Awabite in the direct address appearing next, Ijubalu Awabai, is a derivation from Tawib, which means to return or repeat. The sense is that Allah Ta'ala had commanded the mountains that once Sayyidina Dawud starts making dhikr and tasbih, the glorification of Allah, the mountains too should start reciting the same words after him. Similar to this is the Tafsir of Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, who has explained Awabai, return or repeat after, as being in the sense of sabihi, glorify, recite the praise of Allah. Ibn Kathir, this tasbih, glorification of Allah, the mountains used to do along with Sayyidina Dawud is in addition to the universal tasbih done by the entire creation of Allah that goes on everywhere, all the time, in every age, as said in the noble Qur'an, and there is not a single thing that does not extol his purity and praise. But you do not understand their extolling. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 44. The tasbih mentioned here has the status of a miracle shown at the hands of Sayyidina Dawood. For this reason, it is obvious that common listeners would be hearing and understanding this tasbih. Otherwise, it would have just not been a miracle. From here we also learn that the mountains synchronizing their voice with the voice of Sayyidina Dawood and repeating the tasbih after him was not in the manner sound reverberates, something commonly heard when someone calls inside a dome or well or elsewhere and the voice reverberates or returns. The reason is that the noble Quran has mentioned the manifestation of this phenomenon as a special gift and grace bestowed upon Sayyidina Dawood. The reverberation of sound is a physical thing. It has nothing to do with someone's excellence. It will work for anyone, even for a disbeliever. At a place where sound reverberates, his or her voice too will shoot back. The word, why there, and you too, O birds, refers to the phenomenon of birds joining up in the air at his voice and doing tasbih like the mountains, as it has been mentioned in another verse of the Quran. We had subjugated the mountains to join him in making tasbih, i.e. pronouncing Allah's purity, at evening and sunrise, and the birds as well mustered together. Surah Saba, ayah 18.
Commanding him, make full coats of mail and calculate precisely the links, and work all of you righteousness. Indeed, I, of what you do, am seeing.
In the last sentence of verse Surah Saba, ayah 10, in the first sentence of verse Surah Saba, ayah 11, it was said, and we made the iron soft for him, saying to him, make coats of armor, and maintain balance in combining. There it rings, Surah Saba, ayah 10. This is another miracle that iron was made soft for him. Early Tafsir authorities Hassan Basri, Qadada, Amash, and others said that Allah Ta'ala had, by way of a miracle, turned iron soft as wax for him. To make something out of it, he needed no fire, or hammer, or any other tools. The part of the statement appearing in verse Surah Saba, ayah 11 goes on to state that the iron was made soft for him so that he could easily make coats of mail with iron. In another verse, it has also been mentioned that Allah Ta'ala had himself taught him the making of coats of mail, and we taught him making of armor as dress for you. Surah Al-Anbiya, ayah 80, and what appears later in this very verse, and maintain balance in combining their rings also leads to the final stage of training in this craft. The word kadir is derived from takdir, which means making on a certain measure, while the word sar literally means to weave. The sense thus released is to make a coat of mail in a manner that its links come out balanced and proportionate without one being small and the other being big, so that it turns out strong as well as looks good when seen. This tafsir of and maintain balance in combining their rings has been reported from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him. Ibn Kathir, special note. This also tells us that the consideration for apparent beauty in man-made things is desirable, since Allah Ta'ala has given a particular instruction for it. Some early commentators take takdir in kadir fies, sard, and maintain balance in combining their rings to mean that there should be a fixed measure of time devoted to this craft, lest most of the time is consumed in that single pursuit, causing disruption in duties of ibadah and responsibilities of the office and state. In the light of this tafsir, we come to know that people in areas of industry and labor should also spare some time for ibadah and personal enrichment while remaining duly organized as far as the necessary management of time is concerned. Ra'ul Ma'ani, the merit and grace of inventing, making and producing things. The verse under study proves that making and manufacturing things of need is so significant that Allah Ta'ala has taken it upon himself to teach its mores to his great prophets. That Sayyidina Dawood was trained to make coats of mail already stands proof from this very verse. Then, this is how Sayyidina Nuh was inducted into boat building. He was told, build the boat before us literally, with our eyes or under our eyes, Surah Hud, ayah 37. Build before us simply means build the way we tell you to. That some other prophets were also taught the making of different things in a similar manner stands proved from some narrations of hadith. There is a published book with the title Al-Tib al-Nabawi, I attributed to hadith authority Hafiz Shamsuddin ad-Dahabi. It contains a narration to the effect that the making of almost all important and necessary things in human life, such as house building, cloth weaving, tree planting, food processing, and wheel-based conveyances for transportation, etc., was taught by Allah Ta'ala to his prophets through the medium of wahi, revelation. It is a sin to take the laborers as low in rank. In Arabia, different people used to go in different professions. No profession or occupation was considered low or disgraceful, and no one was taken to be any better or worse on the basis of work, trade, or occupation, nor would brotherhoods and communities rise solely on the basis of occupation. The promotion of the idea of such communities as based on occupation, and the attitude of taking some professions low and mean as such was alien there. This was a product of Hindu India. Having lived there with them, Muslims too were influenced by it. The wisdom of having Sayyid ibn Dawud trained into the making of coat of mail. From a narration of the Hadith authority, Hafiz ibn Asakir, it has been reported in Tafsir ibn Kathir that during the period of his rule, Sayyid ibn Dawud used to visit bazaars and public places while in disguise, and would ask people coming in from different sides as to what they thought about Dawud. Since justice reigned in the kingdom of Sayyid ibn Dawud, people were living a good life. No one had any complaints against the government of the time. Therefore, whoever he asked, the addressee would have words of praise for him and express his gratefulness for the prevailing equity and justice. It was for his education and grooming that Allah Ta'ala sent an angel in the shape of a man. When Sayyid ibn Dawud came out on his routine quest for truth, this angel met him. As usual with him, he put the same question to him. The angel said, Dawud is a very good man, and as compared to everyone, he is doing better for himself and better for his people and subjects too. But he has one habit which, if it were not there, he would have been perfect. Sayyid ibn Dawud asked, What habit is that? The angel said, He takes the expenses on himself and his family from the property of Muslims, that is, from the Bayt al-Mal, the public treasury of a Muslim state. Hearing this, Sayyid ibn Dawud made it a point to immediately turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with self-reproach, lamentation, and prayer, saying, Teach me to do something for which I have to work with my own hands and support myself and my family with wages from it while working gratis, free, without compensation, to serve Muslims and run their state. Allah Ta'ala answered his prayer and taught him the art of making coats of mail, and the honor befitting a prophet He bestowed on him was that iron was made wax for him, so that it became unusually easy for him to earn his sustenance within a short period of time, and thus used the rest of his time for ibadah, worship, and obligations of state management. Ruling. For a Khalifa, Muslim head of an Islamic state of the time, or a king, or ruler who spends all his time in taking care of state affairs, it is permissible in the Sharia of Islam that he takes his average living expenses from Bayt al-Mal. But should there be some other means of livelihood available, then that would be more desirable, as it was with Sayyid ibn Sulayman. Allah Ta'ala had put the treasures of the whole world at his disposal. Gold, precious stones, and everything needed was available to him in abundance. Then Allah Ta'ala had also allowed him to expend whatever he wished from the holdings of the Bayt al-Mal. And according to the verse, so do favor to someone, or withhold, with no requirement to give account. Surah Saba, Ayah 39. He was also given the assurance that he could spend in whatever manner he wished, and that he did not have to account for it. But this event came to pass because Allah Ta'ala, in his wisdom, would have the noble prophets occupy a very high station, and it was after that Sayyid ibn Dawud, despite being the ruler of an empire, used to earn his living with his own hands, and was always satisfied with it. Ulama, religious scholars, who serve the religious cause of education and communication, talim and tabligh, without remuneration, and the Qadi, judge, and Mufti, jury consult, Muslim jurist highly trained to deliver authenticated rulings on problems and issues for the benefit of the community at large, who spend their time in public service, are also governed by the same injunction, that is, they can take their living expenses from the Bayt al-Mal. But should there be some other way to eke out a living which does not hinder the ongoing religious service being performed, then that would be better. Special note. From this conduct of Sayyid ibn Dawud, whereby he demonstrated the great concern he had to find out the informal, free and totally unfettered opinions of people about his ways of doing things, it is proved that one usually does not know his own shortcomings. Therefore, this should be found out from others. The well-known jurist of Islam, Imam Malik, may Allah have mercy on him, also paid particular attention to find out what common people thought about him.
And to Solomon we subjected the wind. Its morning journey was that of a month, and its afternoon journey was that of a month. And we made flow for him a spring of liquid copper. And among the jinn were those who worked for him by the permission of his Lord. And whoever deviated among them from our command, we will make him taste of the punishment of the blaze.
We can now turn to verse Surah Saba, Ayah 12. And for Sulayman, we subjugated the wind. Its journey in the morning was equal to the journey of 1 month, and its journey in the afternoon was equal to the journey of another month. After having mentioned the blessings bestowed upon Say ibn Dawud, the text refers to Say ibn Suleiman. It was said that the way Allah Ta'ala had subjugated mountains and birds for Say ibn Dawud, similarly, the wind was subjugated for Say ibn Suleiman. It would take the throne of Say ibn Suleiman, on which he was seated with a large number of his courtiers, to wherever he wished, always under his command. Early exegete Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, has said that the miracle of the subjugation of the wind was bestowed upon Say ibn Suleiman in return for what he had done once while inspecting his stable of horses. So engrossed he became in this activity that he missed the Salah of al-Asr. Since the horses became the cause of this negligence, Say ibn Suleiman decided to eliminate the very cause of negligence. He sacrificed these horses by slaughtering them. Since the sacrifice of horses was also permissible in the law of Say ibn Suleiman, very much like the cows and oxen, and since these horses were owned by Say ibn Suleiman, the question of bringing loss to the Bayt al-Mal simply does not arise, and the doubt of wasting personal property because of the sacrifice also does not hold good. Full relevant details about it will appear in the commentary on Surah Sad, ayah 30-40, appearing later in this very volume, Romans 7. In short, because Say ibn Suleiman sacrificed the horses he rode, Allah Ta'ala blessed him with a better ride. Qutubai, in the other part of the verse taken up immediately earlier, Surah Saba, ayah 12, the word Gudoa means moving in the morning, and the word Rawa means moving in the evening. Thus, the sense of the verse comes to be that this throne of Suleiman, perched on the wings of the wind from the morning to the afternoon, would cover the travel distance of 1 month, and then, from early evening to late night, that of another 1 month. In this way, it used to cover the travel distance of 2 months in 1 full day. According to Hassan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, Say ibn Suleiman would leave Bayt al-Maqdis in the morning, reach his Takher by afternoon, and had his lunch there. Then he would leave after Zuhr, and by the time he got to Kabul, it would be night. The travel distance between Bayt al-Maqdis and Istakhr is something a swift rider could cover in a month. Similarly, the travel distance from Istakhr to Kabul is also what a swift rider could cover in a month. Ibn Kathir, to explain the next sentence of verse Surah Saba, ayah 12, and we caused a stream of copper to flow for him, it can be said that Allah Ta'ala made a metal as hard as the copper turn into a liquid flowing like water, even gushing forth like a stream of water, and was not hot either, so that utensils and other things of need could be easily shaped from of it. Say ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said that this stream started flowing as far as it would take a travel of 3 days and 3 nights to cover that distance, and this was located in the land of Yemen. Then, in the narration of Mujahid, it appears that the stream started from Sana'a in Yemen and continued to flow like a stream of water up to a travel distance of 3 days and 3 nights. Famous grammarian Kalanawi said that the word Kidr mentioned in this verse means molten copper. Qutubai, the next sentence, and there were some jinns who worked before him by the leave of his Lord, Surah Saba, ayah 12, is also connected with the ellipsis ma'af of Sak Karna, we subjugated. The sense is that we subjugated for Suleiman such people from among the jinns who would do the chores he assigned to them before him as commanded by their Lord. The addition of the expression Bayna Yadayhi, before him, may perhaps be there to make it clear that the subjugation of jinns was not of the kind mentioned in the Quran, where the text talks about harnessing the moon and the sun into the service of human beings. Instead, this subjugation was in the nature of mastery over the jinns who worked before him like vassals busy doing chores assigned to them. The matter of the subjugation of jinns. As for the subjugation of jinns, for Suleiman, mentioned at this place, it was by the command of Allah Ta'ala, and there can be no doubt about its possibility. Similarly, what has appeared in some narrations about some noble Sahaba that they had jinns made subservient to them, it was the same kind of subjugation by the leave of Allah with which they were blessed as a karama. It was not based on any act or recitation, wazifa, on their part, as mentioned by Al-Mukhtasar in Tafsir as Surah al-Munir under his commentary on this verse. He has cited several events relating to Say in Abu Hurairah, Ubay ibn Kab, Mu'aql ibn Jabal, Umar ibn al-Qadab, Abu al-Ansari, Zayd ibn Thabit, and others, may Allah be pleased with him, which prove that the jinns used to be at their service. But it was nothing but the grace and mercy of Allah Ta'ala that, like Say ibn Suleiman, he made some jinns subservient to these blessed souls. but the particular subjugation through incantations and correlated sets of self-invented actions popular among animals or practitioners of this line of activity is something one should take with a pinch of salt and first find out the Islamic rule of guidance in this matter. Qadi Badruddin Shibli al-Hanafi, who is one of the scholars of the 8th century, has written a book, Akam Marjan fi Akam Jan, on this subject. According to him, it is Sayyid Ibn Suleiman who has been the first one to have the jinn into his service with the leave of Allah and as a miracle, and the people of Persia attribute this to Jamshid ibn Anjahan as being served by the jinns. Similarly, there are events on record about Asif ibn Barkiya and others who were connected with Sayyidina Suleiman which indicate that they too had jinns subservient to them. Then, the most famous among Muslims are Abu Nasr Ahmad ibn Hil al-Bukail and Hil ibn Wasif, attributed to whom there are many unusual events of the subservience of the jinns to them. Hil ibn Wasif has written a full book in which he has put together what the jinns said to say Ibn Suleiman and the pledges say Ibn Suleiman took from them. Qadi Badruddin has written in this very book that generally the animals who do their thing to subjugate the jinns use satanic words of infidelity, kafir, and sorcery, sayer, like by infidel jinns and shaitans. The secret of why they would accept to become their vassals is nothing but that they stand placated by their deeds soaked in kafir and shirk, and go on to do a few jobs for them by way of bribe. This is the reason why in doing things of this nature, they would write the Holy Qur'an with blood and other impurities. Hence, the disbelieving jinns and shaitans, pleased with their evil offering, would do what they want them to do. However, about a person named Ibn al-Amam, he has written that he lived during the period of Caliphate Mu'tadid Billah, and he had subjugated the jinns through the effective use of divine names. As such, there was nothing in his recitations that would go counter to the Sharia. Akamal, margin p. 100. In short, if the jinns get subjugated for someone without his own intention or motivated action, solely being something from Allah, as this stands proved in the case of Sayyidina Suleiman and some noble Sahaba of the Holy Prophet, then that is included under Mu'jiza, miracle shown at the hands of a prophet of Allah, or karama, working of wonder in the nature of a miracle shown at the hands of men of Allah, and such subservience when achieved through pragmatism of formula incantations, amaliyat, would be judged on the basis of its active content. If it contains words of kafir or deeds of kafir, it will be nothing but kafir, disbelief, infidelity, and if it is composed of disobedience or sin only, then it is a major sin. Then there are strange words used in such formula invocations and actions. Their meanings are not known. These two have been classed by Muslim jurists as impermissible on the basis that the possibility of such words being loaded with words that contain kafir, shirk, and sinfulness cannot be ruled out. In a Kamal margin, Qadi Badruddin has written that the use of words, the meanings of which are not known, is also impermissible. And if this act of subjugation be through divine names or Quranic verses, and there also be no such sin like the use of impurities in it, then it is permissible with the condition that the aim thereby should be to remain personally safe against harm caused by the jinns, or save other Muslims from it. In other words, the aim should be to remove harm, and not to secure benefits, because if it is adopted as a profession to earn money, it amounts to the enslavement of someone created free, and to exacting forced labor without remuneration, hence prohibited. Haram, Allah knows best. The last sentence of verse Surah Saba, ayah 12 is, "And whoever of them would deviate from our command, we would make him taste the punishment of the blazing fire." Most commentators have taken this to mean the punishment of Jahannam, hell, in the hereafter. Some others have said that, in this world as well, Allah Ta'ala had set an angel upon them who, in case they fell short in obeying Sayyidina Suleiman, would beat them with burning lashes and force them to work. By the doubt that the jinns are made of fire after all, and the fire would hardly affect them, is not worth entertaining here. The reason is that the jinns are made of fire in the same sense as man is made of dust. It means that the preponderant element of man is dust. Still, if man were to be hit by a clod of clay or stone, it would hurt him. Similarly, the preponderant element of the jinns is fire, but pure and potent fire would burn them too.
They made for him what he willed of elevated chambers, statues, bowls like reservoirs, and stationary kettles. We said, "Work, O family of David, in gratitude, and few of my servants are grateful."
In verse Surah Saba, ayah 13, they used to make for him whatever he wished of castles, images, basins as large as tanks and big cookwares fixed in their places, There's a somewhat detailed description of the jobs Sayyidina Suleiman assigned to the jinns. The word maharib, translated above as castles, is the plural form of mirab and is used to identify the noblest part of the house. When kings and men of authority make a state operation chamber, sort of power niche for themselves, it is also known as mirab. Then the word is a derivation from harb, meaning war. One makes a seat of power for himself, keeps it safe against being approached by others, and should anyone resort to any high-handedness, he would fight against the aggressor. Given this congruity, the special section of a mansion is called mirab. Then the masajid or mosques as such are, on occasions, referred to as maharib. When reference is made to the maharib of Sahiba from among the maharib of Ben Israel and Islam, it means their masajid or mosques. The injunction of having a separate place for making a mirab and masajid, as far as the blessed period of the Holy Prophet and the rightly guided Khilafat is concerned, the custom of making the place where the Imam stands as a separate special unit just did not exist. After the early centuries of Islam, the kings promoted this custom for their security, and among common Muslims, it found currency due to the expedient consideration that the whole row where the Imam stands remains empty. It is in view of the large number of people praying in the congregation of masajid already short on space that only a place for the Imam to stand is made by going in depth toward the wall facing the Qibla so that full rows could be formed behind him. Since this method did not prevail during the early centuries of Islam, some ulama have dubbed it as bid'ah, innovation in the established religious practice of Islam. Sheikh Jalaluddin as Sayyidi has written a regular treatise entitled Ilam al-Aranib fi Bid'at al-Maharib on this issue. However, the correct position in this matter is that, should mirabs of this nature be made for the convenience of the people praying, and in the best interest of the masjid without taking it to be the desired sunnah, then there is no reason to call it a bid'ah, innovation in established religion. Yes, if this is made to be the desired sunnah, and whoever does anything against it gets to be censured, then this excess, gulula, can make such an action fall under the purview of bid'ah. Ruling: if mirab is made in the form of a regular place for the Imam to stand and lead the prayers, it is incumbent on the Imam that he stands slightly outside the mirab in a manner that his feet remain out of the mirab, so that the place in which the Imam and the muqtadis, those praying behind the Imam, can be counted as one. Otherwise, reprehensible and impermissible is the situation in which the Imam stands alone in a separate place, and the rest of the muqtadis in another. Some masajid would make a mirab so spacious that it would be good enough to hold a small row of muqtadis within it. In a mirab such as this, should a row of muqtadis also stand in the mirab and the Imam stands ahead of them, being fully inside the mirab, then, because of the Imam and the muqtadis being on common grounds, the element of haraha, reprehensibility, will no more be there. The next word, tamathil, translated above as images, is the plural form of timthal. It appears in the Arabic lexicon Alchemist that timthal with a fatha on the letter sui, ta is a verbal noun, and the word timthal with a kasra on the letter ta denotes a picture. In Al-Quran, Ibn al-Arabi has said that timthal, that is, a picture, is of two kinds: the picture of animate and living things, that of inanimate and lifeless things. After that, inanimate things are further divided in two kinds: jamad or inorganic, in which there is no increase and growth, such as rock or soil; nami or organic, in which increase and growth go on, such as trees and crops. The jinns used to make pictures of all kinds of these things for Sayyidina Suleiman. To begin with, the very generality of the Quranic word tamathil, images, lends support to the view that these pictures were not those of some particular kind, instead, were common to all kinds. Then there are the historical narratives in which the presence of the pictures of birds on the throne of Sayyidina Suleiman has also been mentioned. The prohibition of making and using pictures of the living in Sharia. The cited verse Surah Saba, Ayat 12 tells us that making and using pictures of the living was not haram, forbidden, in the Sharia of Sayyidina Suleiman, but experience bore out that pictures of people were made among past communities to pay homage to them. Then they were put in their houses of worship to serve as reminders of their devotion in the hope that it might enable them too to devote likewise. This did not happen. Gradually, what really happened was that these people made these very pictures the objects of their worship, and thus began the worship of idols and icons. In short, the pictures of the living creatures made in past communities became the conduit of idol worship. Since it is divinely destined that the Sharia of Islam must stay and survive right through the Day of Judgment, therefore, particular attention has been paid there to block the intrusion of the undesirable. Hence, the way sins and initially haram things have been made unlawful, similarly, their conduits and close causes have also been made unlawful by appending these to main sins and haram things. Of crimes, the real one, and the most serious, happens to be shirk and idol worship. When this was forbidden, the law of Islam did not leave the ways and means that could smuggle idol worship in it unchecked. It was boldly and wisely checked when the conduits and close causes of idol worship were also prohibited. Making and using pictures of the living was made prohibited on this very basis. That it is unlawful stands proved on the authority of the ahadith of a holy prophet, ahadith that are sound, authentic, and have been transmitted in an uninterrupted succession. Similarly, when liquor was made haram, also made haram were its buying and selling, wages to deliver or carry it, and its making, everything about it, being the conduits of drinking. When theft was made haram, the very entry in someone's house without permission, in fact, even peeping in from outside the house was prohibited. When zina, fornication, adultery, was made haram, even casting a look intentionally at a nun, maram was also made haram. Comparable examples of it abound in the Sharia of Islam. The prohibition of pictures, a common doubt in its answer. It can be said that the use of pictures during the blessed time of the Holy Prophet could have become a source of idol worship. But in our time, pictures serve many purposes, such as establishing identity of criminals, advertising trademarks, meeting friends and relatives, investigating events and circumstances, and so many other things. For this reason, it has been included in one of the necessities of life. In this, the apprehension of any idol worship is far too remote to conceive. As such, this prohibition that was made to offset the danger of idol worship should now be lifted. Answer to this doubt is that first of all, it is not correct to say that in our time pictures are no more a source of idol worship. Even today, there are so many sects and groups who worship their peers. Then, it is not necessary either that the wisdom behind an operative divine order should be found in every individual case. In addition to that, the sole reason for the prohibition of pictures is not that it is a conduit of idol worship. In fact, there are sound and authentic ahadith in which other reasons for this prohibition have also been given. For example, picture making is a duplication of the special attribute of Allah Ta'ala. The name Musawwir, the giver of form, shape, color, and real presence, is one of the most beautiful names of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and making of pictures, and the giving of form, shape, and presence is, in reality, befitting for Him, and it lies within His power to create among His creations thousands in terms of genus, race, class, category, and kinds, with millions and billions of living units in each kind, each different in shape. Take the example of human beings. The form and shape of men is different. So is the form and shape of women. There have been billions of individual men and women. None of them were absolutely like anyone else. The distinct features of every person are so manifest that an onlooker would easily recognize him without much hesitation. Who can claim to give the creature such marvelous shapes other than Allah Almighty? The human being who makes a picture or painting or a statue of someone living is claiming for all practical purposes that he or she too can make the same images. Therefore, it appears in the Sahih al-Bukhari and in other hadith that, on the Day of Judgment, those who make pictures will be told, when you have tried to imitate us, make the imitation perfect too if you have the power to do so. We did not simply make an image. We have invested it with a spirit too. If you claim to have created it, then you better put a spirit inside the thing you have made. Another reason why a picture is prohibited appears in Sahih hadith, where it is said that the angels of Allah hate pictures and dogs. Angels do not enter the house that has these, because of which the bliss and radiance of the house is gone, and the ability of the inmates to worship and remain obedient to Allah is reduced. Then, along with it, not so wrong is the well-known saying, a vacant house is occupied by demons, so when some house remains unvisited by angels of mercy, who else but the devils and demons will be all over it, staying there to sow scruples of sins first, and then give the intention and the courage to fall into them. Yet another reason appearing in some ahadith is that pictures are unnecessary embellishment of this world. Of course, in our time, pictures yield many benefits, but thousands of crimes, including those that range between immodesty and pornography, also breed and flourish from these very pictures. In short, it is not simply one reason alone that was made basis for its prohibition. Rather, there is a host of reasons why the Sharia of Islam has declared it prohibited to make and use pictures of the living. Now, if we were to suppose that there is some particular person in whom those causes are not found, then, from this stray incidence, the rule of the Sharia cannot change. according to a narration from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the Sahih of Al-Bukhari and Muslim. The Holy Prophet has been reported to have said, "Of people the most affected by punishment on the day of judgment shall be the makers of pictures." And in some other narrations of hadith, the Holy Prophet has been reported to have cursed the makers of pictures. Then a narration from Sayyid ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the two Sahihs of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, reports that the Holy Prophet said, "Every maker of pictures will be in the Jahannam." This humble writer has put together detailed evidences concerning this issue from the narrations of hadith and the practice of the early forebears of Islam in his treatise entitled At-Taswir la Yaqam At-Taswir. Also included in it, there are answers to doubts entertained by people. If needed, please consult. A photograph is also a picture. Some people argue that a photo is outside the definition of taswir or picture, because it is a shadow or reflection, as it would appear in mirror or water. So they would argue the way it is permissible to look at yourself in a mirror, in the same way, a photo picture is also permissible. But this argument is absolutely wrong, because a reflection or shadow is a reflection until it has not been made to last through some device. Take the example of mirror or water. Your reflection in it will be gone once you move away from it. If the reflection of this figure were to be made lasting through the use of some chemical process or device, this very thing will become a picture, the forbiddance and prohibition of which stands proof from a hadith appearing in an uninterrupted succession. A detailed discussion relating to the issue of photographs has also been included in my treatise on pictures referred to earlier. The next word, jifan, translated in the text as basins, is the plural of jafna, which means a large dish like pan or tub to hold ample supply of water. And the word al-jawab, translated above as tanks in kaljawab, is the plural of jabia. A small water tank is called jabia. The sense is that they would make water storing utensils so large as would hold water equal to that of a small tank. The first of the next two words, kujur, translated above as cookwares, is the plural of kidr, which is spelt with the kasra of the letter kaf. It means a pot to boil or cook. The last of the two words, rasiyat, translated as fixed at their place, refers to their state as being set where they were. The sense is that they used to make these cauldrons so huge and heavy that they were virtually immovable, and it is also possible that they would have made these cauldrons fixed on the ovens of solid rock, and therefore they were immovable in that respect. Early tafsir authority Dahak has given this very explanation of these words. In verse Surah Saba, Ayat 13, "Do good, O family of Dawud, in thankfulness, and few from my slaves are thankful." Surah Saba, Ayat 13, after having stated that Sayyidina Dawud and Suleiman were particularly blessed by Allah Ta'ala, they and their family and children have been ordered to remain grateful. The reality of shukr, gratitude, and its injunctions. According to Al-Qutubi, the reality of shukr, gratitude, is that one admits that this blessing has been bestowed by such and such giver and then goes on to use it in consonance with the spirit of his pleasure and in obedience to him. Therefore, using the blessing bestowed by someone counter to his pleasure is ungratefulness, and a virtual denial of that blessing. This tells us that the way gratefulness can be in words, it can also be expressed by acts. When expressed by acts, it would mean the use of that blessing in accordance with the pleasure of the giver and in obedience to him. Abu Abdurrahman as-Sulami has said that salah is gratitude, fasting is gratitude, and every good deed is gratitude. And Muhammad ibn Ka'b al-Qurazi says that gratitude is the name of piety and righteous conduct. Ibn Kathir, in the verse under study, the noble Quran could have used the comparatively brief expression, Hashkiruni, thank me, but the words used are perhaps this expression is adopted to release the hint that the gratitude expected from the house of Dawud was gratitude in practice. The translation in the text has taken care of this hint by saying, do good. This injunction was carried out so faithfully by Sayyidina Dawud and Suleiman, and their families and children, both in word and deed, that no time passed in their homes when they did not have an individual member of the family standing exclusively devoted to worship. In fact, specific time was allotted to all family members for this purpose. As a result, the prayer mat of Sayyidina Dawud would not remain unoccupied at any time by one or the other maker of prayer. Ibn Kathir, according to Hadith in Al-Bukhari and Muslim, the Holy Prophet said that the dearest prayer to Allah is that of Dawud. He would sleep half of the night, stand in worship for 1/3 of it, and then sleep during the last 1/6. And the dearest fasts to Allah are the fasts of Dawud, for he would fast on alternate days. Ibn Kathir, it has been reported from Fudayl, may Allah have mercy on him, that following the revelation of this command of gratitude to say, Ibn Dawud, he submitted before Allah Ta'ala, O my Lord, how could I show my gratitude to you fully and sufficiently, while my gratitude to, be it oral or practical, is nothing but a blessing bestowed by you. On this too a separate gratitude becomes due. Allah Ta'ala said, Now O Dawud, you did thank me. The reason was that he had realized his inability to thank him as was his due, and had made a confession to that effect. Fermaid, Ibn Abu Bakr al-Jas says, May Allah have mercy on him. Report from Sayyidina Ata ibn Yasar, may Allah be pleased with him, that when this verse, Do good, O family of Dawud, in thankfulness, was revealed, the Holy Prophet came to the pulpit, recited this verse, and then said, There are 3 acts, whoever accomplishes them would achieve the same excellence as was bestowed on the house of Dawud. The noble Sahib asked, Ya Rasulallah, what are those 3 acts? He said, Staying firm on justice in states of pleasure and displeasure both, and taking the path of moderation in states of prosperity and adversity both, and fearing Allah both in private and in public. Quoted by Akam al-Quran al-Jassas in the last sentence of verse, soon after having given the command for gratitude with special emphasis, the reality on ground was also pointed to by saying that and few from my slaves are thankful, which is an admonition for a believer, and an incitement to observe gratitude.
And when we decreed for Solomon death, nothing indicated to the jinn his death except a creature of the earth eating his staff. But when he fell, it became clear to the jinn that if they had known the unseen, they would not have remained in humiliating punishment.
The word minsa, translated in the text as scepter, in verse Surah Saba, ayah 14, beginning with So, when we decided that death should come upon him. Surah Saba, ayah 14 appears in the sense of staff or pole, as of purpose or authority. Some early commentators have said that it is a word taken from the Ethiopian language and denotes staff. Others have said that it is an Arabic word from nasa, which means move back, drive away, postpone. Since a staff or stick is used to remove things undesirable or harmful, therefore it was called minsa, that is, the device to remove. By describing the circumstances of Sayyidina Suleiman's unusual death, the text has opened a gateway of many lessons and gems of guidance. The strange event of the death of Sayyidina Suleiman. The elements of guidance embedded in this event are many. For example, Sayyidina Suleiman was a ruler having such an unmatched state at his command that ruled not simply over the world of his time, but over the jinns and birds and the wind as well. Yet, despite all these assets at his command, he too had no escape from death, and that it had to come only when the time was appointed for it to come. The construction of Bayt al-Maqdis, started by Sayyidina Dawud and completed by Sayyidina Suleiman, had part of it still unfinished. This construction job was entrusted with the jinns. They were contumacious by nature but kept working in fear of Sayyidina Suleiman. If they were to find out that he had died, they would have stopped working instantly and the structure would have been left incomplete. With the leave of Allah, Sayyidina Suleiman made appropriate arrangements to offset this situation. So when came the time of his death, he got ready for it and entered the Mirab, seat of authority in the palace, which was made of sparkling transparent glass. His presence could be clearly seen from outside. As was his routine, he stood there in a stance of worship, slightly supported by his scepter, so that, once his soul departs, when he dies, the body remains poised at its place with the support of his staff. The soul of Sayyidina Suleiman was taken away at the appointed hour, but he kept firmly reclining on his staff, and from the outside it appeared as if he was engrossed in worship. In that state, jinns would not dare come close and peek at him. They kept working under the impression that Sayyidina Suleiman was alive. Thus passed a full year, and when the remaining work on Bayt al-Maqdis was complete, Allah Ta'ala empowered the termite, which is referred to by the Quran as Davitalard, a creature of the earth, to occupy the staff of Sayyidina Suleiman. Termite ate out the wood and weakened the staff. When the staff was gone, Sayyidina Suleiman fell down. That was the time when the jinns came to know about his death. Allah Ta'ala has given the jinns the capability of traversing very long distances within moments. They used to be aware of many circumstances and events not known by human beings. When they would communicate this information to human beings, they took it to be news from the unseen, surmising that the jinns too possessed the knowledge of the unseen. Ilm gave, moreover, the possibility that the jinns themselves had a claim of possessing the knowledge of the unseen cannot be ruled out. But this unusual incidence of death unfolded the reality of all that. The jinns themselves found out, and human beings too, that the jinns are no possessors of the knowledge of the unseen, because, had that been the case, and had they been aware of the workings of the unseen, they would have come to know about the death of Sayyidina Suleiman more than a year ago, and would have been spared of the hard labor they went on doing on the assumption that he was alive. This is what has been stated in the last sentence of the verse. So, when he fell down, the jinns came to know that if they had the knowledge of the unseen, they would not have stayed so long in the humiliating punishment. Surah Saba, Ayah 14. Here, the expression, al-Muhin, humiliating punishment, refers to the hard labor they had to do in completing the edifice of Beit al-Maqdis under the orders of Sayyidina Suleiman. Part of this unusual event of the death of Sayyidina Suleiman has been mentioned in this very verse of the Quran, while its details have been reported from several tafsir authorities, including Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, and Arthur ibn Kathir, and all other tafsirs. From this unusual event, we also learn the essential lesson that there is no escape from death for anyone, and also that Allah Ta'ala can, when He decides to have someone do something, arrange to have it done the way He wills. This is exactly as it happened during the course of this event, when Sayyidina Suleiman was kept, despite his death, standing at his place, and the jinns were made to complete the work assigned to them. This event also shows that all causes and instruments of the whole world keep fulfilling their function until such time as Allah would let them do so. When He would not let them do so, causes and instruments fail, like the support of the staff here that was terminated through the termite. Moreover, soon after the death of Sayyidina Suleiman, there existed the danger that people, who noticed the astonishing performance of the jinns and come across their apparently unbelievable access to things unseen, might take them as their objects of worship. This danger was also eliminated by this event of death. Everyone came to know that the jinns were really unaware and helpless in this matter. From this admission, it becomes clear that Sayyidina Suleiman had adopted this particular mode at the time of his death for two reasons: that the remaining work on the construction of Beit al-Maqdis gets to be completed, that people find out the truth about the jinns, realize that they were really unaware and helpless, and thus there remains no danger of jinns being taken by them as objects of veneration and worship. Hutubai, according to a narration of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Amr reported by Imam Nasai with sound chains of authority, the Holy Prophet said, when Suleiman accomplished the building of Beit al-Maqdis, he made some prayers that were answered. One of these was, O Allah, whoever enters this masjid with the sole intention of making salah, and having no other worldly motive, purify him before he goes out of this masjid from all his sins, making him as pure as he was when born from the womb of his mother. And in the narration of Sadi, it also appears that soon after Sayyidina Suleiman was finished with the building of Beit al-Maqdis, he sacrificed 12,000 cows and heifers and 20,000 goats as a token of thanksgiving, and declared the feast open to all. Celebrating the day as a day of rejoicing, he stood on the Sakra of Beit al-Maqdis praying, O Allah, it is You who bestowed this power and all these resources on me, by virtue of which the edifice of Beit al-Maqdis reached its completion. Now also give me the ability to thank You for this blessing, and give me death while adhering to the faith You chose for me, and once You have given me right guidance, let there come no crookedness or deviation in it. And he further supplicated, O my Lord, for a person who enters this masjid, I ask You of 5 things, except the repentance of a sinner who enters this masjid to confess and repent, and forgive his sins. Guarantee peace for a person who enters this masjid to remain safe from fear and danger, and deliver him from all dangers. Heal the sick person who enters this masjid. Make the poor person who enters here free. Let Your mercy be on the person who enters it as long as he remains here, except a person who is busy doing something unjust or faithless. Hutubai, this hadith tells us that the work of building Beit al-Maqdis was already completed during the lifetime of Sayyidina Suleiman. But the event mentioned above is really not contrary to the possibility that there remained some construction work left out even after the completion of the main building, as is usually done in the case of such huge projects. May be, Sayyidina Suleiman had devised the plan mentioned above for the completion of the remaining work. It has also been reported from Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that Sayyidina Suleiman kept standing for a year supported by his staff, even after his death. Qutubai, and according to some narrations, when the jinns found out that a long time had passed since the death of Sayyidina Suleiman, while they had remained in the dark all along, they tried to determine the time of his death, and for that purpose they went for an experiment. They released a termite on a piece of wood. Thus, from whatever of the wood was eaten by the termite in one day and night, they calculated that a year had passed over the staff of Sayyidina Suleiman in that state. Special note: Citing historians, Al-Badhawi has said that Sayyidina Suleiman lived for 53 years and ruled for 40 years. He had succeeded to the throne at the age of 13 years and had started building Bayt al-Maqdis in the 4th year of his reign. Mazari Quatubai.
There was for the tribe of Saba in their dwelling place a sign, 2 fields of gardens on the right and on the left. They were told, "Eat from the provisions of your Lord and be grateful to Him. A good land have you, and a forgiving Lord."
Commentary. In previous verses, warning was given to those who denied prophethood and the day of judgment and failed to realize that the power of Allah Ta'ala was most perfect. Reference was then made to miracles shown at the hands of past prophets, and mention was made of the events relating to Sayyidina Dawud and Sayyidina Suleiman. Now the text mentions the limitless blessings bestowed on the people of Saba, who were later punished because of their ungratefulness. The people of Saba and the particular blessings of Allah upon them. Ibn Kathir has said that Saba is the title of the kings and citizens of Yemen. Katabiya, plural of Taba, who ruled this country, were these very people of Saba, and Queen Bilqis, who has been mentioned along with Sayyidina Suleiman in Surah An-Naml, was also from among these people. Allah Ta'ala had opened the doors of His blessing on them, providing their state with all conceivable comforts. Against these blessings they were asked to believe in one God and obey His commandments, and thus be grateful for blessings bestowed on them. For a certain period of time, these people stayed straight with their mandate and kept enjoying ease and comforts. Then came the time when they became so engrossed in the good things of life they were blessed with that they started touching the limits of negligence, even denial. Then Allah Ta'ala sent 13 of His prophets to warn them. They did their best to admonish them and bring them round to the straight path. But these people kept persisting with their attitude of negligence. Then came the consequence. A flood was sent over them, a punishment that devastated their once flourishing city of gardens. Reported by Muhammad ibn Ishaq ibn Kathir. Imam Ahmad, may Allah have mercy on him, reports from Sayyidina ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, that someone asked the Holy Prophet if Saba mentioned in the Quran was the name of a man, woman, or some country. The Holy Prophet said, "This is the name of a man who had 10 sons among his progeny. Out of these, 6 remained settled in Yemen and 4 migrated to Syria. The names of those who lived in Yemen were Mudhij, Kinda, Az-Ashari, Anmar, Himyar. From the progeny of these 6 sons there came to be 6 tribes known by those very names. And the names of those who settled in Syria are Mikam, Jadam, Amla, Gassan. Tribes coming in their lines were known by the same names. This narration has also been reported by Hafiz Imam ibn Abdul Barr in his book Al-Kaswi al-Imam by Marifati Ansabil Arab wa al-Adham. According to Ibn Kathir's research with reference to scholars of genealogy, these 10 sons were not directly from the loins of Saba, rather they were born in the 3rd or 4th generation of Saba. After that their tribes spread out in Syria and Yemen and got to be known by their very names. And the real name of Saba was Abd Shams. His genealogical tree becomes established by the name Saba Abd Shams, son of Yashad, son of Yerub, son of Cotton. Historians write that Saba Abd Shams had, during this time, given the glad tidings of the coming of the last prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa. It is possible that he came to know about it from early books of the Torah and Injil, or from astrologers or soothsayers. He has also composed some lines of poetry in Arabic in which he has mentioned his coming and wished to have been during his time and been of some help to him. Then, he has also exhorted his people to believe in him and support him. As for the statement of the hadith quoted above in which it is said that out of the 10 sons of Saba, 6 settled in Yemen and 4 went towards Syria, this event relates to the time after the coming of the punishment of flood against them, which means that these people had scattered towards different directions and cities at the time the flood came. Ibn Kathir, quoting Qushayri, al-Qubtu, has reported that the period of the people of Saba is after Sayyidina Isa and before the coming of the Holy Prophet, and thus it falls in the period known as Facture or Gap.
But they turned away refusing, so we sent upon them the flood of the dam, and we replaced their 2 fields of gardens with gardens of bitter fruit, tamarisks, and something of sparse lote trees.
The flood of the dam, Sail al-Arim, and the dam of Marib, the Sad of Ma'arib, the word Arim in. So we sent to them the flood of the dam carries several recognized meanings in terms of Arabic lexical usage, and the scholars of Tafsir have explained this verse in terms of every such meaning. But the meaning more in consonance with the context of the Quran is the one that appears in the Arabic lexicons like Kamus, Sia Jauhari and others, that is, Aram means a dam that is made to block water. Sayyid ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has also given the meaning of Aram as dam. Qutubai, the episode regarding the flood of the dam referred to in this verse, according to the statement of Ibn Kathir, is that in the country of Yemen, 3 miles away from its capital, Sana'a, there was a city by the name of Marad settled in which the people of Saba used to live. The city was located in between 2 mountains. Water from rains used to come from the 2 mountains, leaving the city inundated. The city had the reputation of being a target of such deluges. Rulers of the city, of those Queen Bilqis has been mentioned particularly, built a strong and fortified dam between these 2 mountains, a dam that would remain unaffected by the flow of water. This dam stopped the serial surges of flooded water that entered from the 2 mountains and turned the place into a great big storage of water. Even the water from rains falling on the mountains started flowing in there. Provided inside this dam, there were 3 gates at appropriate levels, so that this storage of water could be released systematically for people of the city to irrigate their farms and gardens. To accomplish this objective, they would first open the topmost gate and use water as needed. When no water remained at that level, they would open the gate in the middle, and after that came the turn of the 3rd and last gate until came the time of rains next year, and the whole dam would stand filled to the brim all over again. Then, engineered and built under the dam, there was a huge big tank in which 12 outlets of water were provided to supply water to 12 canals serving different parts of the city, with water flowing in all canals uniformly, and was used to take care of various needs of the city. Majari, the slopes of the 2 mountains to the right and left of the city, were landscaped with rows of gardens fed by canals of water. These gardens stood adjacent to each other in 2 continuous rows by the slopes of the mountains. Though many in number, but the Quran identified them as Jannatan, 2 gardens, because it has taken all the gardens in one row to be one due to their proximity, and then all the gardens on the other side as the other garden. Trees and fruits of all sorts used to grow in these gardens so abundantly that, according to the statement of the leading early authority, Qatada, and others, a woman would walk with an empty basket perched on her head, and it would automatically get filled with fruits fallen off from the trees without the least need to make use of her hands. Ibn Kathir, the 2nd sentence of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 15, eat of the provision from your Lord, and be grateful to him. You have a good city, and a most forgiving Lord. Surah Saba. Ayah 15 means that Allah Ta'ala had ordered them through his prophets that they should make use of their extended means of livelihood provided by Allah Ta'ala and continue to be grateful to him through their good deeds and unfailing obedience to divine injunctions, for he had made that city of theirs a really good city. It had a moderate climate without any extremes of heat or chill, so healthy, clean and bracing to the extent that there was no trace of any hurting life forms like mosquitoes, flies, fleas, snakes and scorpions anywhere throughout the city. In fact, when travelers from outside would reach the city having lice or other harmful parasites in their clothes, these would die off naturally as soon as they arrived there. Ibn Kathir, at the end of the verse Surah Saba, Ayah 15, by adding, a good city, along with a most forgiving Lord, reference to divine blessings has been made all the more perfect by suggesting that this good life is not restricted to the life of the present world. In fact, should you remain consistent with your gratefulness, the promise of greater and more everlasting blessings of the hereafter also holds good. The reason is simple. He is the creator and master dispenser of all blessings and the one who sustains you, and should you, at one or the other time, inadvertently fail to be grateful or betray by negligence or shortcoming, Allah Ta'ala is a great forgiver too and will forgive your shortcomings. In verse Surah Saba, Ayah 16, it was said, then they turned away. So we released over them the flood of the dam. In other words, when the people of Saba flouted the commandments of Allah through their contumacy and rebellion, despite having such blessings and despite having been warned by the noble prophets, we released a flood from the dam over them. We already know that Aram means a dam. This flood was attributed to Aram for the reason that this very Aram, a source of security and prosperity, was transformed by Allah Ta'ala into a source of calamity for them. According to an account of the event given by Sayyidina ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, Wahb ibn Munabi, Qadat, Dahak and other early Tafsir authorities, when Allah Ta'ala decided to undo the dam of Marib, Aram, and punish and destroy these people through a flood, blind rats were set upon this great dam, who weakened its foundation and made it hollow. When came the time of rains and the flooding of water, the pressure of water broke through the already weakened foundation, creating gaps and crevices in the dam. Ultimately, the water collected behind the dam ran over the entire valley in which the city of Marib was located. Houses collapsed. Trees were uprooted. The water feeding the twin rows of gardens by the mountain slopes was dried up. It appears in the report of Wahb ibn Munabi that it was already predicted in the books of these people that rats will destroy this dam. When people saw rats near the dam, they were alerted by the danger. As a defensive measure, a large number of cats were released under the dam in the hope that they would stop the rats from coming close to the dam. But when came the divine decree, the rats overcame the cats and entered into the foundation of the dam. Then there are historical narratives that also say that as soon as some smart and far-sighted people saw the rats, they decided to leave the place and move to somewhere else. In fact, they made the necessary arrangements and got out of there one by one. Others stayed. But once came the flood, they too shifted. However, there were many who were swallowed by the flood. In short, the whole city was destroyed. Some details about residents of the city who had migrated to towns in other countries have been given in the hadith of the Musnad of Ahmad appearing earlier. 6 of their tribes were scattered in Yemen, 4 in Syria, and some of these very tribes came to be the forerunners of the larger population of Madinat Tayyibah. Related details appear in books of history. What happened to the twin rows of gardens after the coming of flood and the destruction of the city? This has been stated in the second sentence of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 16 as, and replace their 2 gardens with 2 gardens having fruits of bitter taste and tamarisk and some of the lot trees, that is, their trees that yielded fruit having good taste were replaced by trees that bore fruit having an evil taste. As for the word, kant, most commentators take it to mean the arak, a pungent, thorny desert tree. The lexicographer, Jahari, says that there's a kind of arak which bears some fruit and which is eaten. But the fruit that grew on this tree was bad in taste. And Abu Ubaidah, may Allah be pleased with him, said that every tree that is thorny and of bitter taste is called hunt. The next word, athal, means a kind of tree that is also known in Arabic as turfa, according to the majority of commentators, and both are generally equated with tamarisk in English. No fruit it bears is worth eating. Some commentators said that athal in the sense of samar, mimosa, Egyptian thorn, or babel or kikar, acacia arabica found in the subcontinent, is a thorny tree the fruit of which is fed to goats. The word sidr means berry or burr in Urdu and is translated in English as the lote fruit or lotus tree in English. Sidr is of 2 kinds. The one planted on farms bears fruits of pleasant taste, something close to crunchy pears, and carries more of fruits and less of thorns. The other kind is wild and grows in the form of thorny shrubs and trees with more thorns and less fruits that are bitter as well. At this place, the use of the word kalel, little sum along with sidr, bear or lote, perhaps indicates that this too is wild which bears less fruit and is bitter. Allah knows best.
By that we repaid them because they disbelieved. And do we thus repay except the ungrateful?
The next verse, thus we punish them because of their ungratefulness. Surah Saba, Ayah 17, means that they were punished because they committed kufr. Kufr has 2 meanings. It could mean ungratefulness, and it could mean the denial of the true faith. At this place, both meanings can be applied because they did both. They were ungrateful, and they rejected the 13 prophets sent to them. Special note: there are 2 things here that are likely to raise a question. It has been said earlier that Allah Ta'ala had sent 13 prophets to the people of Saba. Then, it has also been stated above that the event relating to these people and the flood of Aaron or dam transpired during the interim period after Sayyidina Isa and before Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, called the period of Fatra or gap. During this period, according to the majority of Muslim scholars, simply no prophet was sent, which is the reason why it is called the period of Fatra or gap. If so, the question is, how can the coming of these 13 prophets be held as correct? An answer to this appears in Ra'ul Ma'ani. There it is said that from the event of the flood of the dam, Aram, being in the period of Fatra or gap, it does not become necessary that these prophets too came during that very period. It is possible that the coming of the prophets to these people dates back prior to the period of Fatra or gap, while their contumacy and hostility to faith may have increased during the period of Fatra, whereupon the punishment of the flood from the dam was sent upon them in the period of Fatra. Allah knows best. The word kafir in the second sentence of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 17, and we do not give such a punishment, but to the ungrateful. Surah Saba, Ayah 17 is an emphatic form of kafir, which means one who is very ungrateful or is an absolute disbeliever. As such, the verse could be taken to mean, we do not punish anyone other than the one who is very ungrateful or is an absolute disbeliever. This, quite obviously, is counter to all those verses of the Quran and sound ahadith which prove that Muslim sinners will also receive the punishment of Jahannam, hell, to the measure of their deed, even though, finally, once they have gone through their punishment, they will be taken out of the Jahannam because of their iman for faith and admitted into Jannah, paradise. To resolve this difficulty, it has been said that it does not signify punishment in some absolute sense. Instead, it means a mass punishment, as was sent over the people of Saba. This one is particular to disbelievers. Such punishment does not befall Muslim sinners. Ra'ul Mani, this finds support in the saying of Atabite ibn Kira. He said, the punishment of sin is that the sinning person becomes sluggish in acts of worship ibadah, his economic conditions become straitened, and enjoyment, itself, becomes hard to bear. Ibn Kira explained the latter part of his statement by saying, when one is blessed with something halal, he can enjoy, there comes one or the other reason which spoils this enjoyment. Ibn Kathir, this tells us that the punishments given to Muslim sinners are of this nature. No open punishment hits them either from the heavens or from beneath the earth. That is particular to disbelievers. And Sayyid Hasan al-Basri, may Allah have mercy on him, said, great is Allah, and he said it right, the punishment of an evil deed exactly in proportion to it is not given to anyone but the kafir, someone very ungrateful or absolutely disbelieving. Ibn Kathir, this is because a believer, who is no kafir, receives some concession with respect to his or her sins as well. An interpretation of the sense of this verse appears in Roll Ma'ani with reference to Kashf. There it is said that the statement is made in its real sense. Punishment as punishment is given only to a disbeliever, and whatever pain is caused to a believing sinner through things like fire is only an apparent punishment. In reality, the purpose is to cleanse him from sin. This is like heating up gold in a furnace. The purpose is to remove its unwanted sediments. This holds true in the case of a believer as well. If he too is put in Jahannam as a consequence of some sin of his, it will be to burn out those elements of his body that have grown on him from consuming what is haram. Once this is taken care of, he is ready to go to Jannah, and it does not take much time that he is taken out of Jahannam, hell, and admitted into the paradise, Jannah.
And we placed between them and the cities which we had blessed many visible cities. And we determined between them the distances of journey, saying, travel between them by night or by day in safety.
In verse Surah Saba, Ayah 18, it was said, and we had made towns to be seen between them and between the towns in which we had placed our blessings, and had measured the journey between them. Travel along them at nights and days peacefully. This verse mentions yet another blessing Allah Ta'ala had bestowed on the people of Saba. Then it goes on to refer to the ungratefulness of those people who acted ignorantly and chose to ask for a reversal of this blessing by praying that the thing be made harder and more challenging for them. The statement, towns in which we had placed our blessings, in this verse probably means the rural areas of the country of Syria, because the reference to the descent of mercy in several verses of the Qur'an is specifically related to that country. The sense of the verse is that Allah Ta'ala had made their travels to the towns of Syria very easy for them during their trips they had to undertake for their business. Given the conditions that prevailed in the world at that time, the travel distance between the city of Marib and the country of Syria was fairly long, with routes being uneven. In view of this difficulty, Allah Ta'ala had blessed the people of Saba by having made for their convenience a series of towns at intermittent distances all the way from the city of Marib to the country of Syria. These habitations were close by the main road, therefore these were called, and measured the journey between them. These habitations, appearing one after the other, were a source of convenience for weary travelers. If a traveler from one of them left home in the morning, he had the choice of reaching some other town on his way, stop there, have lunch or take rest as he wished, and could leave after Zuhr and reach the next stage by sundown and spend the night there. The sentence, travel along them at nights and days peacefully, means that these habitations were made at distances that were balanced and equal so that they would reach from one to the other within a fixed time. In the last sentence of verse Surah Saba, Ayat 18, travel along them at nights and days peacefully, mention has been made of a third blessing bestowed on the people of Saba. It means that these settlements were located at such equal and balanced distances that a traveler would be able to cover them in almost identical time. Then the routes were secure. Theft and highway robbery were unknown. One could travel at any time of the night or day without any hesitation or concern.
But insolently they said, Our Lord, lengthen the distance between our journeys, and wronged themselves. So we made them narrations and dispersed them in total dispersion. Indeed, in that are signs for everyone patient and grateful.
Verse Surah Saba, Ayah 19 opens with the statement, "And they said, Our Lord, make the phases of our journeys more distant." And they wronged themselves, therefore we turned them into stories and tore them into pieces. Surah Saba, Ayah 19. It means that so unjust were these people that they would go to the extent of dismissing the very blessing of Allah placed there to eliminate the hardships of travel, rather went deeper into their lack of recognition and straight ungratefulness by coming forward to pray that their Lord makes the distances they cover in travel longer, hoping that the habitations do not appear at such close distances, and wishing to see some hard areas of a forest or wilderness which ask for some rough traversing as well. Their case was similar to that of the Bani Israel. They used to get the excellent sustenance of man in salwa, all free of cost. Bored with it, they asked Allah to replace it with vegetables and greens. In return for their ungratefulness and lack of recognition for blessings, Allah Ta'ala released the punishment on them that has been called the flood of the dam earlier. The ultimate consequence of this very punishment has been stated in this verse in strong words, that is, they were virtually expunged from this world, leaving nothing but idle tales of their wealth and luxury. The word mazaknahum is a derivation from tamzik, which means to tear and scatter a people or to destroy a kingdom. The sense is that some of the inhabitants of the city of Marib were destroyed on the spot, and some others were scattered in a manner that small groups of them spread out to various countries. This destruction and scattering away of the people of Saba became proverbial in Arabia. On such occasions, there is an Arab idiom, that is, these people got scattered away as were the luxury-laden people of the Saba. Ibn Kathir and other commentators have reported a long narrative about a soothsayer who had come to know about the coming of the punishment of the flood a little before it actually did. He made a swift and unique plan. First of all, he sold his entire property. When he had the money in his hands, he told his people about the coming flood and exhorted them to get out of the area immediately. He also told them that those who intend to shift to a safe, far-away place should go to Oman, and those who have a taste for liquor, pita bread, and fruits should move to Basra in the country of Syria, and those who would settle for rides that go through mud, come handy during the time of famine, and prove efficient when dashing on a journey, should go to Yathrib, Medina, which abounds in dates. His people followed his advice. The tribe of Az went towards Aman, the Ghassan to Basra in the country of Syria, and the Aus and Khazraj and Banu Uthman started off in the direction of Yathrib, the home of date palms. After reaching Bat and Mur, Banu Uthman liked the place and settled right there. Because of this divergence, Banu Uthman were given the title of Quzia. Bat and Mur is closer to Makkah al-Mukarramah, where they had chosen to settle down. As for Aus and Khazraj, they reached Yathrib and stayed there. After the long narrative in Ibn Kathir, the same detail about people scattering to different places has been reported on the authority of said from Qatada from Al-Shabai. Thus, says Ibn Kathir, these people of Saba were shredded into pieces. People who have been mentioned in, we torn them into pieces, the concluding statement in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 19. Surely in this, there are signs for everyone who is ever patient, fully grateful. Surah Saba, Ayah 19. Means that there is a great sign and lesson in the rise and fall and in the radical change that hit the life cycle of the people of Saba for a person who is enduring and grateful at its best, that is, when faced with some distress or pain, one observes patience over it, and when blessed with things of comfort, one is readily grateful for it. This is a lifestyle in which one always comes out a winner. No matter what the state of his life is, he ends up in nothing but pluses, profits, and gains. So says a hadith of Say, Ibn Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the Sahih of al-Bukhari and Muslim, where the Holy Prophet has been reported to have said, certainly unique is this state of life a true believer is always in. No matter what Allah decrees for him, it turns for him into nothing but good and profitable. If he is blessed in one way or the other, or has the desire of his heart fulfilled, he thanks Allah for it, and it becomes good and beneficial for him in the hereafter. And if he suffers from some pain or distress, he bears it with considered patience, for which he is rewarded in a big way, and thus, this suffering too, becomes good and beneficial for him. From Ibn Kathir. Some commentators have taken the word sabar, very patient, in the general sense of sabr or patience, which includes remaining firm in all acts requiring obedience as well as abstaining from sins. In the light of this tafsir or explanation, a true believer remains comprehensively attuned to sabr, patience, and shukr, gratitude, under all conditions, and then, for that matter, every sabr is shukr and every shukr is sabr. Allah knows best.
And Iblis had already confirmed through them his assumption, so they followed him, except for a party of believers.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 19 for the Tafsir.
And he had over them no authority except it was decreed that we might make evident who believes in the hereafter from who is thereof in doubt. And your Lord over all things is guardian.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 19 for the Tafsir.
Say, O Muhammad, invoke those you claim as deities besides Allah. They do not possess an atom's weight of ability in the heavens or on the earth, and they do not have therein any partnership with Him, nor is there for Him from among them any assistant.
Commentary. These verses are meant to prove the falsity of three different types of idol worshippers. The first group among them, and the most absurd of all, was of the people who believed that these idols, made of stones, are the partners of Allah and His associates in all His powers. The beginning part of the verse Surah Saba, Ayah 22 refutes their presumption by saying, they do not possess anything, even to the measure of a particle. The second group of them used to believe that these idols are the helpers of Allah in managing affairs of the universe. The last part of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 22 deals with this group by saying, and He, Allah, has no helper from among them. There was a third group of people who did not hold the idols as gods or helpers of God, but they maintained that these idols are so close to Allah that their intercession is always approved by Him, and whoever has the advantage of their intercession, his desires may well be fulfilled. Verse Surah Saba, Ayah 23 has refuted this belief by saying, an intercession before Him is of no benefit, but for the one whom He has permitted. The sense is that their assumption that idols are close to Allah is not correct. They are neither close to Allah, nor do they have any power of intercession before Him. Then the text clarifies that even angels who are close to Allah cannot intercede for anyone without Allah's permission, and even if they are allowed to intercede, it is not easy for them to do that, because of Allah's awe they have in their hearts. The usual way in which they receive a command from Allah is that they become nervous, due to Allah's awe, when they receive it. Then once they return to their normal condition, they ask each other about the command to ensure its correct nature. This is the sense of the later part of verse Surah Saba, Ayah 23, where it is said, until when fear is removed from their hearts, they will say to each other, what did your Lord say? They say the truth. This part is abridged from Kilasi Tafsir. Athmani, as for angels becoming nervous out of awe referred to in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 22, its full description is given in a report from Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the Sahih al-Bukhari. Says the relevant part of the long hadith report, when a command from Allah Ta'ala issues forth through the heavens, all angels start flapping their wings in humility and emotional readiness to obey, as if dazed or benumbed of consciousness. When that effect of nervousness, awe and majesty recedes from their hearts, they say, what did your Lord say? Others tell them that He has spoken the truth and that such and such command has come from Him. And it appears in the Sahih of Muslim that Sayyidina Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, reports from some Sahabi that the Holy Prophet said, when our Rabb, may His name be exalted, gives a command, the angels holding the divine throne start reciting tasbih, saying glory for Him. Hearing the tasbih done by them, angels of the next lower level of the heavens follow suit until this chain of glorification reaches the lowest level, that is the firmament of the world, making it a simultaneously recited tasbih by angels from all heavens. Then they ask the angels who are close to the throne, what did your Lord say? This they tell them. Then in the same manner, those of the lower heavens ask those of the upper the same question, until this chain of question and answer extends up to the firmament of the world. Excerpt from a long hadith. Mashari.
And intercession does not benefit with Him except for one whom He permits. And those wait until, when terror is removed from their hearts, they will say to one another, what has your Lord said? They will say, the truth, and He is the Most High, the Grand.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 22 for the Tafsir.
Say, who provides for you from the heavens and the earth? Say, Allah, and indeed, we or you are either upon guidance or in clear error.
Consideration of the psychology of the addressee in debates and avoidance of any approach that may provoke violent attitude. In verse Surah Saba, Ayah 24, and you are either on the right path or in open error. Surah Saba, Ayah 24. This address is aimed at polytheists and disbelievers. In their case, what was needed was already done. That Allah Ta'ala was the Creator, the Master, and all-powerful in the absolute sense was proved decisively and explicitly. That idols and everything else other than Allah was weak and helpless was demonstrated clearly. After having done all this, the occasion demanded that mushriks are told in clear terms that they were ignorant and astray in bypassing Allah and electing to worship idols and shaitans. But the noble Quran has opted for a wonderfully wise form of address, something that should serve as guidance for all those who are engaged in the mission of dawah and tabligh, or in debates against opponents of Islam and votaries of the false. It will be noticed that the disbelieving adversaries addressed in this verse were not called kafirs, infidels, disbelievers, or the ones gone astray. Rather, a change was introduced in the mode and content of the address. The arguments and proofs were already clear. In their presence, no sensible person could say that Tawhid, oneness of Allah, or pure monotheism, and Shirk, the attribution of partners in the pristine divinity of Allah, are equally true, and that the adherents of both are following the truth. Instead of that, it is certain that one of these two is following the path of truth, while the other is in error. Now, it is up to you. You think and you decide as to who is on the side of truth. Is it we or is it you? Had the addressee been called a disbeliever or someone who had gone off the track of truth, it could have made him angry. This approach was avoided. In its place, the approach was kept so affectionate and disarming that it would make even the most die-hard adversary left with no choice but to consider what was being proposed. From Kutuba in Al-Quran, this method of prophetic call, good counsel and good-mannered debate in line with the command of the Quran, وَيْجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and argue with them in the best manners. Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 125, is something ulama should keep in sight all the time. Once this stands ignored, everything done in the fair name of dawah, tabligh, and debate becomes ineffective, rather harmful. As a result, adversaries turn adamant and cling to their error far more firmly.
Say, you will not be asked about what we committed, and we will not be asked about what you do.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
Say, our Lord will bring us together, then He will judge between us in truth, and He is the knowing judge.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
Say, show me those whom you have attached to Him as partners. No, rather He alone is Allah, the exalted in might, the wise.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 24 for the Tafsir.
And we have not sent you except comprehensively to mankind, as a bringer of good tidings and a warner. But most of the people do not know.
Commentary. That Allah is one and that His power is absolute was the subject in previous verses. In the present verse, it is being said that the Holy Prophet was sent as the messenger of Allah to all peoples of the world who are there now or will come in the future. The word kafa, in kofadal and nas, for all peoples is used in the sense of making something universal and inclusive of all without the exclusion of anyone from it. The grammatical arrangement of the text required saying len nasi kofatan for the people as a whole, because the word kafa, all, is grammatically a hal adverb relatable to the word nas, people, but in order to put a clear accent on the universality of the mission of the last Rasul of Allah, the word kafa, all, was said to come earlier. The mission of a messenger or prophet assigned to all prophets sent before the Holy Prophet was restricted to some particular people and particular geographical area. It is the peculiarity of the Sayyid Muhammad al-Mustafa that his prophetic mission is common and open to all peoples of the world. In fact, it is not simply for human beings, but is so for the jinns as well. And then, it is not just for those who were present during his blessed time, but is universally applicable to all human generations to come right up to the last day of Qiyamah. And this very fact of the continuity and survival of his mission as prophet and messenger demands that he has to be the last and final of the prophets, and that no prophet is to come after his appearance. The reason is that another prophet is sent when the law and teachings of the one before him are distorted or altered. Thus, a second prophet is sent to reform the people and reinstate them according to Allah's pleasure. As for the Sharia of the Holy Prophet and that of his own book, the Quran, right through the last day of Qiyamah, the responsibility of its protection has already been undertaken by Allah Ta'ala Himself. Therefore it will hold on and survive till Qiyamah in its original state, and there would be no need for some other prophet to be sent. According to a narration of Sayyid ibn Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, appearing in the Sahih of Al-Bukhari and Muslim and elsewhere, the Holy Prophet has been reported to have said, I have been given 5 things that have not been given to anyone else before me, that Allah Ta'ala helped me by placing in my person such an awe as it is felt by the people from the distance of a month of travel, that the whole earth has been declared to be a masjid and a purifier for me, in the religious codes of past prophets. Their worship used to be performed only in particular places set up as houses of worship. Worship was not allowed outside their appointed prayer places, either in the open or inside homes. For the Muslim community, Allah Ta'ala made the whole earth a masjid in the sense that salah can be made everywhere, and in the absence of water not being available, or its use being harmful, the dust of the earth was made tahir or purifier so that it could be used to make tayammum, which becomes a valid alternative wudu. That property from the spoils has been made halal for me. Before me, it was not halal for any other community, among whom the rule was to assemble the war spoils collected from the disbelieving adversary and deposit it at an appointed place in the belief that some fire or lightning would descend from the heavens and burn it, and this act of burning would itself be the sign of the acceptance of the religious war. For the Muslim community, distributing the spoils in accordance with the rule enunciated by the Qur'an and spending it as needed was made permissible, that I was given the station of the great intercession, Ash-Shafa al-Kubra, that is, when no prophet would dare intercede on behalf of others on the fateful plains of the resurrection, Al-Hashr. I shall then be given the opportunity to intercede, that before me every prophet was sent to his particular people. I have been sent as a prophet to all peoples of the world. Ibn Kathir.
And they say, when is this promise, if you should be truthful?
See Surah Saba, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
Say, for you is the appointment of a day, when you will not remain thereafter an hour, nor will you precede it.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
And those who disbelieve say, we will never believe in this Quran, nor in that before it. But if you could see when the wrongdoers are made to stand before their Lord, refuting each other's words, those who were oppressed will say to those who were arrogant, if not for you, we would have been believers.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
Those who were arrogant will say to those who were oppressed, did we avert you from guidance after it had come to you? Rather, you were criminals.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
Those who were oppressed will say to those who were arrogant, rather, it was your conspiracy of night and day when you were ordering us to disbelieve in Allah and attribute to Him equals. But they will all confide regret when they see the punishment, and we will put shackles on the necks of those who disbelieved. Will they be recompensed except for what they used to do?
See Surah Saba, Ayah 28 for the Tafsir.
And we did not send into a city any warner except that its affluent said, indeed, we, in that with which you were sent, are disbelievers.
Commentary. The age-old satanic illusion of taking worldly riches and honors as a proof of being loved by Allah. All along the lanes of time since the very beginning, people intoxicated with material wealth and luxury have always opposed the voice of truth and taken a stance of hostility against the prophets and the pious people, except those whom Allah willed otherwise. On top of this, they also used to argue in favor of their satisfaction with the existing stance against the people of truth by saying, had Allah disliked our doings and ways, why would He give us wealth, recognition, and power in this world? The noble Quran has answered it in several verses taking different approaches. The revelation of the cited verses is also related to an event of this nature which provides an answer to this absurd argument. It appears in Hadith that, during the period of Jahiliyyah, 2 persons ran a business in partnership. Then one of them left the place and went to some coastal area. When the Holy Prophet was ordained as prophet and people in Arabia started talking about it, the former business partner, then living in a coastal area, wrote a letter to his former business partner in Makkah and asked him about his reaction and the reaction of other people against this person claiming to be a prophet. The former partner in Makkah wrote back telling him that no one from among the Quraysh had followed him except a few people of no consequence, mostly poor and needy, who were going for him. The man of the coast left his business behind, came to Makkah and asked his former partner there to tell him the address of the person who claimed to be a prophet. This coastal friend, who used to study old scriptures, such as the Torah and the Evangel, presented himself before the holy prophet and asked him, "What is it to which you invite people to come?" He told him about the main elements of his dawah of Islam. Immediately after having heard the dawah, call to Islam in his blessed words, he said, "Ashhadu annaka Rasul Allah," i.e., I bear witness that you are, without any doubt, the messenger of Allah. He asked him, "How did you know this?" He submitted, "As for your call being true, I understood it through my reason, and then the sign of it was that adherents of all noble prophets who have come earlier have, in the beginning, always been the weak and the meek, the poor and needy people who did not matter much among those they were sent to." Revealed thereupon was the verse under study, "And we did not send a warner to a township, but said those who lived the luxurious life therein, we reject what you have been sent with." Surah Saba, Ayah 34. Ibn Kathir and Majari. In this verse, the word mutraf, translated above as those who live the luxurious life, has been derived from taraf, which carries the sense of a life abounding in material assets, ease and comfort. Hence, mutrafin denotes rich people of a community who are arrogant and careless about what is right or wrong. The Holy Quran is saying in the verse cited above that whenever Allah has sent a messenger, these people intoxicated with their riches and pampered by a life of luxury have always confronted him with a flat denial of his mission.
And they said, "We are more than the believers in wealth and children, and we are not to be punished."
Quoted in the next verse, Surah Saba, Ayah 35 is their saying, which, in effect, means we are superior in riches and children, and we are not going to be punished. Obviously, by it, they meant, if we had been deserving of punishment in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, why would He give us all this wealth and recognition? The noble Quran gives an answer in the next two verses by saying, fact, my Lord extends provision to whom He wills, and straightens it for whom He wills, but most of the people do not know. Surah Saba, Ayah 36. And neither your riches nor your children are the things that bring you near us closely, however. The one who believes and acts righteously is close to us. Surah Saba, Ayah 37. The gist of the answer is that having more wealth and recognition in this world, or not having any, is no proof of someone being acceptable or unacceptable in the sight of Allah. In fact, it is in view of creational considerations that Allah Ta'ala would give, at least in this world, property and wealth in abundance to whomever He wills, and gives less to whomever He wills. He alone knows the creational consideration behind it. But taking the abundance of wealth and children to be a proof of being acceptable in the sight of Allah is sheer ignorance, because with Him the criterion of acceptability, approval, support and pleasure is no other but iman, faith, and good deed. One who does not carry these two assets, no matter how much wealth and how many children one has, these cannot make him or her acceptable in the sight of Allah.
Say, "Indeed, my Lord extends provision for whom He wills and restricts it, but most of the people do not know."
This very subject has been taken up in several other verses of the noble Quran. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, it was said, "Do they think that by consistently providing them with wealth and children, we are accelerating the real good things to them? The fact, however, is that they do not understand the reality." Surah Al-Mu'minun, Ayah 55 to 56. And the reality is that wealth and children that make man negligent of Allah become a curse for him. Then, in a verse of At-Tawbah, it was said, "And their wealth and children should not attract you. Allah only wants to punish them with these in this world, and that their souls depart while they are disbelievers." Surah At-Tawbah, Ayat 85. In that case, it will end up into the everlasting punishment of the hereafter. As for punishing through wealth and children right here in this world, it means that they become so involved in and infatuated with wealth and property that they never find the time to think about their ultimate fate or turn towards Allah and the hereafter, the end of which is punishment that will last forever. Then there are many who have wealth and children both. It is within this world that, for the sake of wealth and children, rather, through the wealth and children, they have to suffer from thousands of distresses and pains. As such, their punishment starts taking effect right from this very world. According to a narration of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, the Holy Prophet said, "Allah Ta'ala does not see you or your wealth. He sees your hearts and your deeds," reported by Umar ibn Kathir.
And it is not your wealth or your children that bring you nearer to us in position, but it is by being one who has believed and done righteousness. For them there will be the double reward for what they did, and they will be in the upper chambers of paradise, safe and secure.
In the last sentence of verse, therefore, such people will have the double reward for what they did, and they will be at peace in the upper chambers of paradise. Surah Saba, Ayah 37, mentioned there is the state of the people of Iman, faith, and good deeds, for they are the ones acceptable with Allah. Whether or not they are recognized in this world, their return in the hereafter will be double or manifold. The word df, with a kasra of the letter dad, is a verbal noun which means like a thing or the likes of a thing. The sense is that the way wealthy people keep amassing their wealth in the worldly life, Allah Ta'ala would increase the return for His accepted people in the hereafter many times over. For example, the return for one deed would be 10 of its likes, or 10 times as much. Then it is not so restricted either. Granted the person's sincerity in deed, and in view of other causes and considerations, the return of one such deed can go up to 700 times. That returns at this high scale will also be given as stands proof from Sahih Hadith. It is interesting that this too is not restricted. It could be more than that. In short, these people of faith and good deed shall be residing in the elevated chambers of paradise in perfect peace and forever shielded against all sorrows. The word Ghurafat is the plural form of Ghurfa. It denotes a part of the mansion considered distinct and high as compared to other parts.
And the ones who strive against our verses to cause them failure, those will be brought into the punishment to remain.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 37, for the Tafsir.
Say, indeed, my Lord extends provision for whom He wills of His servants and restricts it for him. But whatever thing you spend in His cause, He will compensate it, and He is the best of providers.
Commentary. This verse has appeared a little earlier almost in the same words. As obvious, the same thing has been mentioned here, however, it has a difference. At this place, there is an addition of out of His servants, after, whomsoever He wills, and lahu, for him or whomever, after, yaktir, it straightens, from the statement, min idiki, from His servants. It is gathered that this rule of guidance has been put forth for His particular servants, that is, for the believers, and the purpose is to alert people of faith that they should not start loving wealth and comfort to the extent that their hearts choke when it comes to spending at occasions and on rights enjoined by Allah Ta'ala. As for the earlier verse, Surah Saba, Ayah 36, that carries the same text, it was addressed to disbelievers and polytheists who prided on the worldly assets of wealth and children and declared these to be the proof of their success in the hereafter. Thus, any discordance between the addressee and the purpose of address stands eliminated. Maulana Ashraf Ali Than, Babi, may Allah have mercy on him, in his Khulasa of Tafsir of Maarif-ul-Qur'an, has taken the same approach by first adding the believers in parenthesis while explaining this verse. Another difference between these two verses pointed to by some commentators is that mentioned in the first verse was the distribution of sustenance between different human beings, that is, Allah Ta'ala gives more of wealth and property to some, and less to some others, all in His wisdom and in the light of universal considerations. And in this verse, only one person in his different states have been mentioned, that is, this one person has at times more with him, then comes another time and the same person has much less as well. The word lahu for him, which appears in this verse after yaktru, straightens, releases an indication in this direction. This approach too leaves no discordance behind. Rather, the first verse turns out as relating to different individuals, and the present verse, the different states of one single person. The sentence, in whatever thing you spend, He replaces it, and He is the best of the sustainers. In verse Surah Saba, Ayah 39 literally means, for anything that you spend, Allah Ta'ala gives you a return from His unseen treasures at times within this world and at times in the hereafter and at times in both. In things happening around us, we see that water comes down from above, animals and humans use it freely, needs of farms and forests are satiated, and no sooner does that supply of water gets used up, that another supply descends to replenish it. Similar is the case of wells dug for water that, no matter how much water is spent out of these, it stands replenished by nature from other sources of water beneath the bed. Man eats up his food leaving the impression that he has finished it, but Allah Ta'ala provides him with other food in its absence. Physical exercise burns out calories of food, and other workings of nature turn it into energy. In short, whatever man spends out in this world, it is the customary practice of Allah Ta'ala that he would replace it with something else similar to it. Something happening contrary to this, as an exceptional case, either to punish one, or for the sake of some other creational consideration, will not be deemed as contrary to this customary divine practice. According to a hadith of Sayyidina Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, in Sahih of Muslim, the Holy Prophet said, "Every day when people rise to see another morning, 2 angels descend from the heavens and pray, Allah, bless the one who spends out of what you gave him or her with its return, and let the one who withholds what you gave him or her find it wasted." And according to another hadith, the Holy Prophet said, Allah Ta'ala has told me, you spend on people, I shall spend on you. There is no promise of a return for spending that is not in accordance with the Sharia. Says a hadith of Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, see that the Holy Prophet said, good deed is sadaqah, an act of charity in the way of Allah. When someone spends on himself or his children and family, that spending too falls under sadaqah. It brings thawab, reward from Allah, and one who spends to protect his integrity and honor, this too is sadaqah. And whoever spends whatever he does in obedience to the command of Allah, he has taken it upon himself that he will give him its return, except that which is spent in wasteful, extra to need, building or sinful activity, for there is no promise of a return for it. After hearing this hadith from Sayyidina Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, his disciple, Ibn al-Munkadir, asked him, what is the meaning of spending to protect one's honor? He said, there may be a person about whom one apprehends that, should he not give him something, he would go about maligning him in all sorts of ways. In this case, giving to such a person is in order to save one's honor. Reported by Ad-Darqutni, Qutubai, with a decrease in the use of something, its production also decreases. The hint embedded in this verse also tells us that as long as the things of use provided by Allah Ta'ala for consumption of human beings and animals keep being consumed, these keep being replaced by him constantly. The rule seems to be that the more the consumption of something, the more its production. The multiple uses made of domestic animals like goats, sheep and cows put them high on the list of consumption. They are slaughtered. Their meat is eaten. Then they are also slaughtered under Islamic legal requirements such as the qurbani or sacrifice, and in kafarat, plural of kafara or expiation, and jinayah, false offenses against religious prohibitions. The more they are consumed, the more increased becomes their frequency of production from Allah Ta'ala. This is common experience everywhere. The number of these animals, despite being under the knife all the time, remains the highest in the world. The number of dogs and cats is not that high, although the reproduction of dogs and cats should obviously be much more, as they produce 4 or 5 puppies and kittens in a single pregnancy. A cow or goat delivers 2 calves or kids at the most. Cows and goats keep being slaughtered all the time. Dogs and cats are generally not touched by anyone. But as far as common observations goes, it cannot be denied that the number of cows, sheep and goats comparatively exceeds the number of dogs and cats. Since the time restrictions have been placed on the slaughter of cows in India, the production of cows has gone down there in that very ratio. Otherwise, every village and every home would have been full of cows that stayed spared from being slaughtered. Once the Arabs tapered down their use of camels for riding and transport purposes, the usual increase in the populations of their camels has also gone down. Incidentally, what has been said here also helps remove the atheistic doubt usually dished out with reference to the Islamic injunctions of sacrifice, saying that it is likely to affect the economy of Muslims adversely.
And mention the day when he will gather them all, and then say to the angels, did these people used to worship you?
See Surah Saba, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
They will say, exalted are you. You, O Allah, are our benefactor, not them. Rather, they used to worship the jinn. Most of them were believers in them.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
But today you do not hold for one another the power of benefit or harm. And we will say to those who wronged, taste the punishment of the fire which you used to deny.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
And when our verses are recited to them as clear evidences, they say, this is not but a man who wishes to avert you from that which your fathers were worshipping. And they say, this is not except a lie invented. And those who disbelieve say of the truth when it has come to them, this is naught but obvious magic.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
And we had not given them any scriptures which they could study, and we had not sent to them before you, O Muhammad, any warner.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 39 for the Tafsir.
And those before them denied, and the people of Makkah have not attained a tenth of what we had given them. But the former peoples denied my messengers, so how terrible was my reproach.
Commentary. The word Mishar in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 45, while these infidels of Makkah have not reached even 1/10 of what we gave to those before them, has been taken to mean usher, a tenth, by some early commentators. Some scholars have interpreted it as Ashrul Ashur, 100th, while others call it Ashrul Ashir, 1,000th. Obviously, the later has a higher degree of exaggeration as compared to Ashur or 10. The sense of the verse is that not even a tenth, rather 1,000th of the worldly wealth, power, blessings of age and health given to earlier communities was received by the people of Makkah. Therefore, they should take lesson from what happened to past communities and the evil end they faced. These were people who invited upon themselves the wrath of Allah when they rejected prophets and messengers, and consequently, when came the actual punishment, their power, bravery, wealth and fortified fortresses could do nothing for them.
Say, I only advise you of one thing, that you stand for Allah, seeking truth in pairs and individually, and then give thought. There is not in your companion any madness. He is only a warner to you before a severe punishment.
Call to the disbelievers of Makkah. In verse Surah Saba, Ayah 46, I advise you for one thing only. In order to negate any excuse for the people of Makkah, they have been shown a shortcut to ascertain truth. For this, they had to do just one thing, stand for Allah, in pairs and singles. Standing for Allah does not mean standing in the physical sense, something like standing up from the posture of sitting or lying. Instead of that, it means having the resolve to show full care and concern for the assignment in sight. Then, by adding lillah for Allah with the word qiyam to stand, the purpose is to make it clear that one should start looking for truth with the mind cleansed of previous thoughts and beliefs for the good pleasure of Allah alone, so that previous thoughts and deeds do not obstruct one's way to an acceptance of the truth. And then, the expression in pairs and singles is not intended to point out a particular number. The sense is that there are two ways of pondering over something, to think it out alone and in private, to consult friends and elders, discuss it with them, and then arrive at some conclusion. It is being said here that, out of these two methods, you can go by the one you like. The conjunction, thumma then, in the next sentence in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 46, thumma tadafakaru, then ponder, refers back to, and takwamu, that you stand, appearing earlier in the same verse where the purpose of standing has been spelt out, that is, cleanse your mind of all previous thoughts, get ready to act for the good pleasure of Allah. Think about the call of the Prophet of Islam, Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, and decide for yourself whether or not it is true, and it does not matter whether you do this thinking on your own and all alone, or you do it by consulting others and arriving at some conclusion following discussions with them. Onwards from here, another line of thinking has been suggested. Here is a solitary person, all by himself, with no power or group to back him, and no wealth or property to strengthen him. Here he comes proclaiming an article of faith counter to that of his own people, rather that of the whole world, something having taken firm roots over centuries and something they all agree to. Such a proclamation can come only in two forms. Either the person making the proclamation is totally insane, who has no idea of his gain or loss, and is ready to invite the wrath of his people and all sorts of hardship for him. Or, what he is saying might as well be true, that he is a rasul or messenger from Allah and fears none in conveying and implementing his command. Now, think hard with an open mind as to which of the two things is the real thing. If you think in that manner, you would be left with no choice but to become certain that he cannot be insane. The entire city of Makkah and everyone in the large tribe of Quraysh is aware of his wisdom and character. He has spent 40 years of his life among his people. From childhood to his youth, everything about him has been before them. No one has ever found any word or deed issuing forth from him to be counter to reason, wisdom, sobriety, and gentleness. And other than the kalima of La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah, to which he invites people. No one can doubt any of his word and deed to be counter to reason and wisdom, even today. Given these conditions, it becomes quite obvious that he cannot be insane. This was established in the next sentence of the verse by saying, "There is no madness in your fellow the Holy Prophet." Here, the word sahibikam, your fellow, releases a hint in this direction. It is suggesting that should it be the case of a visitor coming in from outside, whose antecedents are unknown and who is heard saying something counter to the belief of a whole people, then it is possible to call him insane. But this cannot be true in his case. He is one of you, he lives in your city, he belongs to your brotherhood and abides in your company be it day or night. Nothing he does is hidden from you. In fact, even you yourselves have never cast aspersions against him in that manner before this. And when the absence of the first situation becomes clear, the second situation stands established that has been mentioned in the last sentence of this very verse, Surah Saba, Ayah 46, as, "He is none but a warner to you in the face of a stern torment." It means that his presence among them signifies nothing but that he has been sent there to save people from the severe punishment of the Day of Judgment by warning them of it in advance.
Say, whatever payment I might have asked of you, it is yours. My payment is only from Allah, and He is, over all things, witness.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 46 for the Tafsir.
Say, indeed, my Lord projects the truth, knower of the unseen.
Verse Surah Saba, Ayah 48, say, my Lord sends forth the truth. He is the best, knower of the unseen. Surah Saba, Ayah 48, say, truth has come and falsehood has vanished so as it has no power to produce or reproduce anything. It means that my Lord, who is the knower of the unseen, strikes out the false with a throw of the truth, as a result of which the false is destroyed, as it was said, and there it is all gone. Surah Al-Anbiya, Ayah 18, literally, the word kadf means to hit by throwing. Here, the purpose is to highlight the truth as set against the false. Perhaps there may be a wise consideration behind expressing this phenomenon through the word yaktafu, he throws. Maybe the purpose is to point out to the after effect of the truth prevailing over the false. It appears here in the form of a simile, as the throwing of something heavy over something feeble that shatters into pieces. So it happens in the confrontation between truth and falsehood, when the latter lies shattered. Therefore, it was said next, and falsehood has vanished so as it has no power to produce or reproduce anything. That is, falsehood becomes so incapacitated in the face of truth that it can neither originate anything nor can it bring it back.
Say, the truth has come, and falsehood can neither begin anything nor repeat it.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
Say, if I should err, I would only err against myself. But if I am guided, it is by what my Lord reveals to me. Indeed, He is hearing and near.
See Surah Saba, Ayah 48, for the Tafsir.
And if you could see when they are terrified but there is no escape, and they will be seized from a place nearby.
Commentary. According to most commentators, the attending condition described in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 51, and they will be seized from a place near at hand, refers to the day of resurrection, Al-Hashr, from the terror of which disbelievers and sinners will not be able to escape even if they try to do so. In our normal experience in this world, when a culprit runs away, he has to be searched for. Something like that will not happen in the present case. In fact, all of them will be seized from where they are located. No one will have the chance to escape. Others have taken this time to be that of the agony of death, that is, when the time of death comes, they will be terrified and unable to extricate themselves from the hands of the angels. They will be seized where they are with their soul taken out.
And they will then say, we believe in it. But how for them will be the taking of faith from a place far away?
The word tawash in verse Surah Saba, Ayah 52, and they will say, we believe in Him. And how can they achieve it, the faith, from a place so far off? Means to pick up something by stretching one's hand. Then it is obvious that one can pick up only what is near at hand. If it is very far, it will be out of reach. The subject of the verse is that disbelievers and deniers, once they see reality as it is on the Day of Judgment, will say, we have now come to believe in the Qur'an, or the Messenger of Allah to whom it was revealed. But they would not know that the time and place for embracing a man, faith, has receded far away from them, for the reason that a man is a thing of the life of the mortal world, and that alone is what is accepted. That the hereafter is not the venue of deeds, the place to act right, Darul Amal. Nothing done there can be taken into account. Therefore, how is it possible that they pick up the great wealth of the man just by stretching their hand for it?
And they had already disbelieved in it before and would assault the unseen from a place far away.
The word cat in verse Surah Saba, ayah 53, while they had rejected it before, and used to make conjectures from a place so far off, means to hit something by throwing. In the Arab idiom, anyone talking out of his hat having no proof for it is referred to by the expressions Rajam bil Gaib and Kat bil Gaib, that is, this person shoots arrows in the dark, which has no aim or target. At this place, the expression from a place far away means what they say is far from their hearts, that is, they do not believe in it by heart.
And prevention will be placed between them and what they desire, as was done with their kind before. Indeed, they were in disquieting denial.
In the last verse Surah Saba, ayah 54, it was said, and a barrier will be placed between them and that which they desire, that is, they were not allowed to have it. This description could be true about the day of judgment in the sense that these people will be seeking salvation and paradise but would fail to have it. Then it could also apply to the time of death in the world, that is, they wished to have worldly wealth that was made to stay away from them by the barrier of death. The word ashiyan, as it will be done with the people of their kind who were before them, they were in a perplexing doubt, is the plural form of Shia. One who is a follower of someone and thinks alike is called a Shia or partisan of that person. The sense is that the punishment of having been deprived of what they wished to have was no other but a punishment that had already been given to people like them who indulged in doings their disbelief prompted them to do. The reason was that they were deep in doubt, that is, they did not believe in the prophethood of Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa, nor did they have the certitude of and faith in the Qur'an being the divine word. And Allah is pure and high, and He knows the best.